This is Mitch. Those are the people. I have 36 people in my life right now, and this is May of 2020. I have about 36 people who have out on the street right now through me. They've loaned me about 24 million bucks. This didn't happen overnight. Most of these people have been with me for over a decade. A lot of them over a decade and a half. A few of them over 2 decades. They have been loaning me money. Now there'd be a whole bunch of them over 2 decades, but a lot of them have died. And, unfortunately, that's how I lose my private lenders is they pass away. And then, it goes into the estate and the kids get the estate. And of course, the kids need a new boat and a new car. And they're not interested at all in keeping those savings plans going. So usually when someone passes away, that's the end of it. I take care of a lot of widows. I started doing business with the man of the family. And then 15, 20 years later, the man passes away and his widow decides, why should I fix something that's been running well and never broken for over 2 decades or for over a decade and a half? Let's just stay where we're at, and it's enough money for them to live, or for the widow to live off of. So I take care of a lot of widows these days because my career is over 24 years long. Couple of hiatuses in there where I took a break and took some sabbaticals, but for the most part, I've always been in the business for over 24 years. Even when I wasn't in the business, I had lots of real estate that I had to watch over. So CEOs, pro athletes, doctors, lawyers, people that's at the top of their game, making big money, those are the kind of people that have been lending me money. Also, people that are not business people, but they inherited a lot of money, or they won the lottery, or they had some kind of windfall, and they just don't trust themselves with the money. They've never really been successful financially on their own. They have this windfall, and they want to get it out of their hands and into a professional's hands so that they have a better chance of not losing it, to put it lightly. And so I have seen that many times. People have a windfall. When people have windfalls, I say, do this, say like, you get $1 million windfall, and I'm just pulling that number right out of the air. Go ahead and spend 15, 20, 30, I don't know, maybe $100,000. I wouldn't go much over 10%. Take 10% of your windfall and blow it out. Go rent those jet skis or buy those jet skis. Go on that vacation, buy the car, do do a lot of things that you've seen everyone else doing that you've never been able to afford to do, and do some of it. I call it pent-up demand. Take some of that pent-up demand and get it out of your system, and then live off what the $900,000 makes. If you have $900,000 at 10% annual interest, that's an annual income that you never had before, and you survived all this time without it. Now you're going to have this annual income of $90,000 or something coming in extra per year. Save it, grow, take a little bit of it and add to your lifestyle, but also take some of it and just keep letting that number get bigger and bigger and bigger, your retirement plan. I also borrow a lot of money from people who are sick and tired of 2% or less CD rates. And they finally figured out that, inflation is 3% per year. This income is not even keeping up with inflation. So, their money's making less and less compared to what they need to buy every year. I'm also there for people who are sick and tired of living by the Wall Street ticker tape. I have a lot of people that have pulled out of the stock market saying, I would rather take this more predictable income and this reliable collateral than gamble on hitting it a little bit bigger in the stock market. Here's the thing. When you know what you're going to make every month, you can plan. Now we talk to a lot of people in the stock market. Man, I'm averaging 17% rate of return or 15% rate of return for the last 3 years. It's only that rate of return if you take your money out and sell. Until you sell, it's just what you could make if you sold. And then a lot of people hang on too long, and then there's a crash, and it takes them 7, 8, 9, 10 years to get back to where they were. That's like 10 years of not making any money, just trying to get back to what you could have made, especially psychologically. Most people I know agree. If you could just make 8, 10% steady on your money all the way, never lose, and just keep compounding that 8 and 10% per year, that they would have been much better off than they ever were in the stock market. You know, as a general rule, I hear that all the time. So loaning out your money directly is another option that people try. Still, when you loan out your money directly to private lenders in your town, like, you know, not anyone specific, just whoever has a good deal, come to me and I'll loan you the money if I like it. You're going to need to know your laws. You're going to need to know your real estate values. You're going to need to know your paperwork. You're going to need to know your software and your bookkeeping. You're going to have to know your collection process, and you're going to have to know some attorneys, and you're going to have to know some appraisers, and you're going to have to know what you're doing. You have to get into it. And all of a sudden, loaning the money out yourself at a premium rate isn't passive anymore. So I'm talking to people that want to really be passive, right? Passive. Just go to your mailbox on the 1st and pick up a check and put it in the bank, and then go about your golf game or your boating weekend or your trip to Europe or China or wherever we're going. I guess we're going anywhere right now, but so here's the proposition. You can loan your money to a real pro. And I want to put my hat in the ring. You know, I'm a pro. I've been in the business over 2 decades. I have 20 years worth of being in this business. I have started in 1996, officially full-time, March of 1996. But I have owned property since I was 21, like from the 80s. I have had a rent house or two or something going on. I wasn't in it big until 1996, but I was always in it from age 21 when I bought my first condo by myself and learned why condos weren't a good deal the hard way. A little word called special assessments and recessions. So you can loan your money to a person like me. For the record, I've never filed bankruptcy, ever. I've never filed Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. I've never been foreclosed on, and I've never deeded back a property to one of my private lenders. I've never failed anyone. Have I had any deals go south? Yeah, I've had a handful of deals go south. Not many, knock on wood, but the ones that did go south wasn't my private lender's problem. I took care of it, handled it, took my loss like a man, took it on the chin, never said a word about it, and paid as agreed. Some people have loaned me money wishing I would fail, because sometimes I only borrow 40 cents, 40% of what the property's worth, or sometimes I only borrow 25% of what the property's worth. Those people really wish that I would default, but I don't default, and I have never defaulted. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but that's why you got to look at the collateral. You have to say, if Mitch Stephen, even though he has a great track record, if he defaults, what do I get? And you got to look at your collateral and say, because I'll have 2 rights. With all my 36 lenders and all that 24 million, I have 2 rights every day of my life. I have the right to pay as agreed, or I have the right to deed the property back to the person who loaned me the money if I can't pay or don't want to pay. I have those 2 rights every day. It's a non-recourse, collateral-only loan. And so if you don't like the collateral, I always look at my potential lenders and say, if you don't like the collateral, don't do the deal, because I always have that right. Now, have I ever given a property back or deeded back? No, I haven't, not ever. In 2000, somewhere around 2,000 deals, 100 deals a year, over 2 decades worth of deals. No, I haven't ever given a property back. Even when I lost money, I didn't give the property back to the lender, because if I give properties back to my lenders, even though it might be a great deal for them financially, that's not what they loan me the money for. They loan me the money because they want to be passive. They want to get a check in the mail every month. They just want to make their deposit and go about their life. I know that if I start giving houses back to people, they'll stop loaning me their money. And their money is like my lifeblood in my business. It's the reason why I do well in a recession. And because in the recession, the banks close, right? I clean up in the recession. I do extremely well in a recession. The house business, buying and then selling with seller financing or owner financing, selling your house with that built-in loan from me to my buyer, that's a boom time in a recession, because the banks are closing, and I don't need a bank. When I have private lenders, I don't need a bank to buy houses, and my buyer doesn't need a bank to buy a house for me, because I'm making the loan to him, me. So I don't need a bank on either end in my business. When there's a recession and the banks close, I'm the only guy open for business. I didn't need them to buy my houses because I have you, the private lenders, and I don't need a bank or a mortgage company to sell my houses, because we're not going out putting applications for loans. I'm giving the loan on the house. You just make me 30 years worth of payments. So what do I offer as a rate of return? Really quickly, it's pretty easy. You give me a 15-year fully amortized loan, a 15-year loan, I pay 10%. You give me a 10-year fully amortized loan, I'll pay 9%. I'll pay you out over 10 years. You give me a 15-year amortization with a 7-year balloon or a 7-year call, where it's a 15-year amortization, but at the end of 7 years, I got to pay you whatever the balance is on that 15-year note. I got to pay you off. I'll pay you 8.5%. You give me a 15-year amortization with a 5-year balloon, I'll pay you 8%. And then anything that fully amortized 7 years or less, I pay 6%. So if I got something, and I do occasionally come across properties and say, look, I just want to put this on a 6-year amortization or a 5-year amortization. I just want to pay it off. I just want that property free and clear in a short period of time. If I do that, anything 7 years or less, I'll pay 6%. And here's what's neat about that deal. The property might be worth 50 and I'm borrowing 20,000 in a first lien position, but I just want to pay it off in 7 years. I mean, every month that goes by, you're owed less and less and less. And I didn't hardly borrow any money against this collateral in the first place. So it's very strong. Rate of return is usually based on risk. The higher the risk, the higher the return. So if you see people offering you 25% rate of return or 20% rate of return, there's probably a lot more risk associated with this. I do not pool my money. Everyone who loans me money, it's me or my company as the borrower, you as the lender, and a piece of collateral that you get if this particular loan doesn't get paid as agreed. Okay? One borrower, one lender, usually one piece of collateral, although there could be multiple pieces of collateral, but usually we only need one to satisfy that. Never borrow over 60%, so you never loan over 65%, average 58%. You always a first lien position. So those are the kinds of loans that I make. Those are the rates that I pay. And I would love to have a private consultation with you if you are even remotely interested in loaning your money out and having a truly passive source of income. If that sounds appealing to you, or you just like to meet or talk, we can talk over the phone. We can set up a Zoom meeting if you like to see each other when we talk. Or you can come to San Antonio, or maybe I travel to you. Just depends. If you live in someplace interesting, I'd like to go. Right now, we're not traveling all that much because of the pandemic, but this recording will be archived for months and months and months. So hopefully this stuff will pass soon. Call me, 210-669-4020. 210-669-4020. That is my direct cell phone number, and I'm going to be the guy that answers it 99.999% of the time. So give me a call, 210-669-4020. My email is mitch@1000houses.com. mitch@1000houses.com. And if you ever want to learn about me and my story, I wrote a book called My Life in 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom. It will give you a lot of insight as to how I became an expert in this business. And it had a lot to do with falling down and getting back up and dusting yourself off. So again, if you're really interested in the passive rate of return, minimal risk with great collateral, and something tangible that you're either going to get paid as agreed, or get a tangible, very valuable piece of Texas real estate, then give me a call. Mitch Stephen, I'll be happy to talk to you. Love to meet you in person if you're in San Antonio or near Canyon Lake, Texas, or New Braunfels. We can meet up somewhere. I'm not even opposed to travel if you're really serious, especially if you live in an interesting place. All right, this is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'd like to thank everyone stopping by to get you some insight as to how to really passively invest. And hope you're meeting your goals this year. Hang in there through this pandemic. It's gonna pass. We're the United States of America. We will get it done. All right, I'm out of here.